Okay, so big Monster Hunter update, title update for apologies for the Zoom call camera angle. It is what it is. I picked up side work because of Monster Hunter, and this is how they want my camera to be. Okay. Title update 4. Weird title update. Mostly because when they did like the big release trailer, Ryozo came out and said, by the way, this is the last update where you're getting a new monster. Now, sometime I think in February, we're going to be getting Arch-Tempered Archveld, which is kind of sort of like I'm sure he'll have a new move, a new thing. Um, but more or less, they said this is it. And I don't quite remember updates dropping like this with such a level of finality to it. Um, I mean, obviously, we got to updates at the end, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, like we've got an expansion coming, and this is it for this game because we have an expansion coming up very soon." This felt a little weird and a little sudden. We are just barely 9 months out from the release, and it already kind of feels like the book is closing on Wilds, which we could speculate. So I got some thoughts. First, most biggest thought is, from the very beginning, actually before, really the game came out, the concern was how is performance. Even before the beta came out, there was concerns. Of course, there was concerns about Dragon's Dogma 2. Just before the main game came out, we got the benchmark tool, and they said, "Don't worry, performance improvements are coming." Things weren't great. Things got a little bit better, and then usually they got worse. And they got a little bit better. And they got a little bit worse, and then I think it was maybe even title update 2, where they were like, "Performance improvements are coming at the end of the year." So it's been very hyped up performance improvements, and so I could test it on my own. I can tell you for me, it does seem slightly better. I've seen other people doing testing. Apparently, CPU has gone up. I will tell you what I did do, and this is incredibly unscientific, is I took a straw poll of my community, and this is what we got. So, for the most part, people are saying performance is the same. I didn't really specify whether this was PC or console. I know some people on console say it feels a little bit better, so take this with a grain of salt. It might be weighted to being slightly better on console, but for it to be majority the same and then quite nearly split better and worse, kind of feels like we're exactly where we were. This is not what you want for the performance-based title update. Now, granted, they said we're getting upgrades here. We're going to get upgrades in January. We're going to get upgrades in February. It's like, all I can say is I did have access to the game pre launch, and playing the game on a 4070 before the Steam, like the official Steam release, it ran pretty good. And then it felt like on release, it got worse. So is it de novo? Is it something else? Is it some last optimization? I don't know. I'm not a programmer, but um, it is what it is. So performance, mixed bag. If you had a lot of issues before, you may as well try and reinstall it because maybe it's better. One thing to know is probably for most people, this is just like stock, no RE engine, no unpacking your textures. It's very possible the changes they made plus unpacking your textures will make the game run way better. All I know is that the patch seems to make my game run better, not worse. I do want to go into the patch notes. We're not going to go like super, super, super in depth, but I think it's worth just kind of talking about what's going on. And this feels what is the feeling I get from this? They buffed almost everything in a game where I think the majority of the complaint is from most players with most weapons that there's not enough challenging content. Everything almost across the board, especially perfect guards and technically perfect evasions on dual blades, has gotten buffed. So what does that mean? If I were the game director, I would be saying, I want Wilds to be remembered as the game that you would give to a new player. Now, I would think most people nowadays would say if you're starting off playing Monster Hunter, and what I would say starting off playing Monster Hunter, just get Monster Hunter World. On sale, it's between like 10 and 20 bucks. Maybe cheaper in like a weird fanatical deal and stuff like that. And still has plenty of people playing and it's got a great loop and all of that. But I mean, if you have somebody and like they're getting walled by like Great Jagras or like Anjanov, like maybe that's what this is. Like maybe that's what this is for. Like maybe they're hoping to seed a generation of players that couldn't get past the pink T-Rex. And so in making these changes, they have added some 9-star quests. I'll be honest, I have not done the 9-star quests. I've done Gagmasios, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. He didn't need these buffs, but we got them anyways. So, like, are these buffs necessary for the 9-star quests? I'm going to go on a limb and say probably not. We know there's no new monsters coming out, so to make the weapon stronger, to grind more efficiently, with essentially nothing on the horizon feels tough. But that is what it is. Like I could really go into detail, but basically almost everything has been made stronger. Perfect Rush, Perfect Rush got made easier to land, which is funny. It wasn't that hard before. Perfect Guard is easier. Perfect Evasions, like with dual blades, you can sheath and then you can keep your demon boost. So if you do your perfect evasion, you get the blue mode. You can sheath and then you keep it. Lance has gotten a lot stronger. Gun Lance has gotten a lot stronger because of the perfect guard changes. Switch axe, I mean, huge list of buffs. Everything. Insect glaive. I think you still want to use focus mode quite a bit, but they did actually improve a lot of the inputs, so you don't have to like be 100% Rising Spiral Slash player, but they also, I did notice, have now made you immune to knockback during Rising Spiral Slash. Okay. So a lot of buffs there. So we'll talk a little bit about the new fight. I'm gonna throw up just wilds right here. I'll probably try and throw up some stock footage of me fighting Gagmasios. I mean, Gagmasios is fun enough, you know. I mean, he has a lot of moves that are very similar to when you fought him back in 4U. So if you're very nostalgic for playing him in 4U, then you know you'll get some of that now. There's, you know, an almost insultingly large amount of tutorials about going back and forth between fire and dragon. As best I can tell, all that really matters is dragon. Like, it doesn't even really feel worth it most of the time switching back to fire. I mean, I guess you could start in fire, and then as soon as they're like, oh, it's the final phase, better use dragon now, I guess that's fine. But it's just, it's almost comical. And I'm assuming this is because of Elatrion, like how dumb they have to treat the player base. And I don't know if it is because like we are that dumb. Maybe we are that dumb. Maybe we deserve this. Maybe we deserve being in hell. You know, the final phase, there's a lot of flying, man. And I mean, that's fine, I guess, especially if you're using a ranged weapon. Maybe they expect you to use a ranged weapon. Otherwise, they expect you to shoot lasers at them for the most part. And I'm not super into shooting lasers. But that, you know, it's, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't rank it in the top world fights. Would I rank it in the top wilds fights? It's okay. I do like the other stuff that they added for like the gear crafting. If there was going to be like a lot more of all of this, like if this game was going to be getting like another 6 months to a year of like title updates, you know, what we have is like interesting, right? You have some genuinely interesting choices in terms of how the Gagmasios upgrades changes weapons, not just of course the stats, but in this case you can see here like the shelling type and stuff like that. That's neat. Of course, the weapons themselves roll their own individual stats. So you see them here down at the bottom. Those can be upgraded. And then you get the active skills. So, like, the original Ardian weapons, they had bonuses, and even like a bad Ardian weapon usually beat a crafted weapon. But it was like always felt like just like kind of annoying to roll for. Now it actually kind of feels like you're really getting a lot of strong benefits that are worth going for. And the Gagmasios armor itself, I think, is kind of cute, right? So I'm going to show that off like a tiny, tiny bit, right? So if you didn't notice, and it's a little bit behind my head, right? So, all of the different Gog armor pieces have like a different set piece on that second split there. So not only are your weapons helping contribute to hitting some of those set bonus skills, you can now easily mix and match Gagmasios with other things. And then not only that, on top, in a way, you almost have like elemental agitator. I think it's like 30% upgrading to 40% with the 4 piece. So not really a huge boost from 2 to 4. But then mutual hostility 2 gives you like I think it's like 3 hits of like the equivalent of like intrepid heart. So very survivable at the very least with 2 piece. Probably worth it, because there's some good pieces here, right? Uh, the arms here with maximum might, definitely a good piece, especially with Fulgur on that. Like these arms are amazing for many, many weapons with agitator is good. And then like again, the tacit, again, here with burst and Nebiodo, also very good. So right off the bat, those 2 pieces seem amazing for most weapons. But then there's other things too, right? There's going to be fun here. We'll be getting AT Jindahad later. We'll be getting AT Arkveld later. So there might be some more armor pieces to mix and match there. On top of everything else, there's also Transcendence, which is also kind of interesting, right? So, I could take, not that I'm probably going to make these because probably just going to make the GOG stuff. You can make your Ebony Odo stuff a bit better. So if I wanted to use the arms, I could actually put some slots on there, get them a little bit upgraded in that way. Same thing with the Ebony chest here. So, interesting choices across the board. Probably what is the Fulgur helmet was pretty good, right? So this might be a good choice. Again, I got to look at it. Probably play around with the skill calculator to find out ideally with my talismans um, what makes the most sense. So, I like those mechanics. Quite a bit of grinding to be able to get those things up, but compared to a lot of things, actually feels like probably worth the time invested. But the issue is, and I kind of likened it in my head to diplomacy. And I don't mean like actual diplomacy. I mean like the board game diplomacy. Diplomacy, if you don't know, it's a little bit like Risk, but uh, you basically write your moves down ahead of time, and the entire game is spent negotiating with other players on whether or not you're going to attack someone or do something else. And the main strategy behind diplomacy is knowing when to betray the other players. Like the winning move is when do you screw everyone over? I know it sounds funny, but stick with me. The key is you want to cooperate up until that very last moment. And you only know when that moment's going to be when you find out how many turns are left. So the moment you know that the game is going to end, that's the time you betray the other players because, you always want to be one step ahead of everyone else. And so the issue is with these updates is these changes are great. Like this is a cool event that is probably going to get a lot of people back to farm up some neat gear and get some good upgrades. The thing is like, even if the plan was this update and then Guardian Arkveld in February, and that's it, to tell us now that this is the last update and there's not even word of an expansion. I don't want to say like what's the point? Like we all go back, we play Monster Hunter games and we grind up gear because we like hunting things. But especially when the grind is like filling up a bar and not chasing a rare reward, it just feels a little bit like I'm spinning my wheels. You know, it just doesn't feel right. And again, if this were World, you know, we would be spitting here for 1 to 2 months, grinding out full Fatalis gear and helping other people grind out full Fatalis gear. But Gagmasios is no Fatalis. You know, I did lose my first run because I was stupid and I stood in a lava puddle. But after that, like, I think I'm good. I'm good. I don't think I'm going to lose again. Bring a little bit of survivability, and then if you bring dual blades, make sure you've really maxed out their dragon element. But everything else, just bring dragon element and you're good. And that's it. So, I mean, I'll do the 9-star quests. I'll probably make a couple more pieces of God gear. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a lot of fun, like, rolling on things. But with no real promise of any content in the future, and with this, it's still like performance is better. It's not way better. It's just a little better. I don't know. I don't know. If I were Capcom, I mean, and the debate is right now, do we put the resources in to make and finish a G rank expansion? And my thought process might be anyone that would have normally been working on that expansion might have just been pulled in just to try and get this game to where it is now, which again is debatably running 5 to 10% better than it was before. Do you then take that team, take them out another 12 to 18 months and build out a G rank expansion? 90% of the time you do. But I think there is a possibility they just cut it. You know, I mean, the fall off from the game, like people are back in the game now, but like I can't imagine they're going to be sticky. I don't know. I don't want to be depressed. I want to be happy. I want to hunt monsters. I want to be happy. I want you to be happy. But where we are in the game right now, I think fundamentally they need to go back, design a game that will run and perform well, really well on a Steam Deck. And I know that's like crazy because at that point we're almost going back to the PS4, but I got news for you. There's still a lot of people playing on the PS4 or like an Xbox Series S. And with the price of RAM in the future, it's probably going to be that way for a long time. So scale it back, get something that I guess at the very least runs really well on a Switch 2, and make that the next jumping off point. You know, we did experiments with focus mode. It's great for new players. I don't think it's great for the overall game experience. It changes everything you need to know about your positioning and timing and things like that. Everything else. It's okay. It's swing and a miss. It's not like it would be the first game. Monster Hunter Portable Third, technically on its own, never got a G rank expansion. Generations was never supposed to get a G rank expansion. It did, of course, because World needed more time to cook. Ghost technically didn't get a G rank expansion. So there are games historically that never got an expansion. And I almost feel like at this point that is a possibility that this might be the clean break. So I will probably update a shorter video in January and then And then, of course, in February for the Guardian Arkveld update about how performance is doing. I hope it gets better. I mean, if they get this game somehow impossibly running really well in a Steam Deck, I think they should make a G rank expansion. I don't know what they can do with focus mode. I mean, it's too integrated into the game. I mean, you need to make essentially every monster like Omega tier. And normally when you get a G rank expansion, all you're really getting is monsters. Of course, they get more HP, they deal more damage, maybe they move a little bit faster. They get like one new move. They would need to redesign everything to feel like you're fighting an Omega to make focus mode feel justified. And I just don't know that we'll get that. Okay, that's it. This is just my thoughts. I'll be streaming this probably once or twice more. I want to get all the nameplates. If there is a free challenge hunt for Jindahad, I want to get my FOMO pendant and maybe make a couple sets, and then that'll be it. All right. Thanks for watching.